Hello, hello. I am figuring this out again today. Today. See. Okay, I have become an expert, I think. Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing today on this beautiful, beautiful Thursday? I'm just going to close that window because I can see myself. Well, I'm not going to close it. I'm just going to mute it and make it smaller. I hope everyone is doing great. Today was my tech day, so I was very busy today doing everything technical. And it's very interesting that when I do the technical stuff, I have glitches on Facebook. Very interesting. Today is going to be a very, very chilling and not chilling, actually, very chilling to the brain or interesting to the brain, the topic that we're going to be talking about. We're going to be together for around 1 hour, and I'm going to be talking deeper in the growth mindset, because last week, remember, with Talal, we were talking about all sorts of mindsets that we all have. This week, I'm going to be focusing specifically on the growth mindset. I'm going to take you on a journey and explain to you what it is all about, and also give you some tips to, grow it, because a growth mindset is something that you can grow and you can make even better with time and with more experience. Let me tell you how I came across to understand or to become an expert in growth mindset, because I used to believe that our minds do not change, and it's not easy for people to change or for people to change their mindsets. I remember growing up, my father used to, he had a saying. He had a saying that always, every time we would be talking about change, or we would be talking about people becoming different than who they are, or anything of the sort, he would always say that people do not change. And the Arabic meaning actually is that the character will always win over adaptation. So whatever your character is, no matter how much you adapt through your life, my father believed that no matter what you do, your character will always prevail and it will always come back, no matter how much you adapt to different situations in life. And I grew up believing all of this. I grew up believing that this is true. I grew up believing that it is what it is. I'm born this way and I have this character, and that's how I'm going to be going throughout my life. That's how I'm going to be doing things throughout my life, without really being that person who asks, without really being that person who questions, without being that person who believes that there is something better for me, or that I can actually be different than what my character is. So I actually went on a quest, because I had always been using that proverb that my father used to use. It's an Arabic proverb, but I was always using it left, right, and center, that people don't change, people will never change, I will never change. It is what it is. This is how I am. This is how I was born. This is what I know. Until I realized that there is so much more to me. There's so much more to everyone in this world than to be stuck in whatever they feel they want to be stuck in, or whatever they choose. And I truly believe that being stuck is a choice, and excelling as well is a choice. No matter what you do, I personally believe that it is your choice whether you excel or you get stuck or you don't want to move anywhere. That is your choice. That is not the matter. That's not a fact. The fact is that everything in this life is changeable depending on you. That no matter what comes to you, if you are in a place where you are in a growth mindset, you will be able to change. You will be able to change things, and you will be able to change yourself. Now, when we talk about mindset really depends on, like, if you want to work on your mindset, it really depends on the situations, and depends on where you are. So if you have a fixed mindset, sometimes you might have a fixed mindset. And remember, the fixed mindset, we spoke about it last week, but let me just remind you. A fixed mindset is me saying that this is how I was born, this is what I know, this is everything that I know about, and that's how I live my life. All right. And this is what I can do. This is a fixed mindset. And the fixed mindset, the person with a fixed mindset will always find issues into doing things, or into changing things, or issues about, no, I cannot do this because I don't know how to do this, or this is not what I learned, or all I know is this. This is something new. I cannot do it. I don't have the means to do it, and I cannot do it. And we're going to talk about language later on, because that's part of how we grow our mindset. So when we have a fixed mindset, this is how we are. We are kind of like, the horse, when the horse is taking the carriage, right? Is leading the carriage. They put those, those, I don't know what they call them, blindfolds, but not really blindfold, right? They put those folds on the horse's eyes so that the horse does not see the cars, right? And don't get startled. And I'm using this comparison because I feel it makes sense, when you are in a fixed mindset, that's how you are looking. Like, you don't really have a broad visual to everything around you, or a broad picture, or a broad imagination. You are literally fixated, and that's how it works. Like, we are in one direction. It's a one directional process when you are having a fixed mindset, and you live with that. And if you keep it up, you're gonna take that with you, right, throughout your whole life. Now, sometimes, even when we have a growth mindset, sometimes in very specific situations, we can be stuck. We can be thinking, using the fixed mindset that we have. So, in other words, our mindset is not set in stone. It's not always a fixed mindset, and it's not always a growth mindset, although we thrive to want to be in a growth mindset all the time. But sometimes, on some very specific stuff, we get fixated. We use our fixed mindset, like, no, this is not something I will be able to do, or this is not something that I have the capacity to do, or I have the knowledge to do, and I'm not willing to go through that extra mile to become able. So that's when I am using the hat of the fixed mindset. Now, when you decide, and I've noticed it on myself, when you decide to start working on yourself and to take that step towards, I call it an adventurous journey, because really what you're doing is you're discovering everything about who you are, and everything about that soul which is living in this body, and things become very, dare I say, attractive, because it's exciting to figure out who you truly are. It is exciting, it is attractive. It's like, it's something that the more you learn about it, the more you want to know. It's like, wow, this is something that I have that's living inside this body of mine. So the minute you start thinking this way, you are already setting a step inside your growth mindset. It's like you're stepping inside your growth mindset, and you are starting that journey in that mindset. And the minute you do that, even if sometimes you are stuck in places, or you find yourself in a situation where you are fixated, or you're using your fixed mindset, and because you're thinking that you cannot do it, or it's not something that is appealing to you, or this is not something that you have learned and you are afraid, and we're going to be talking about that later on. That's when your fixed mindset is triggered, and you just stop being that person who wants to, engage, or who wants to explore. Because growth mindset is really all about exploring. It's about exploring who you truly are. It's about exploring your potential. It's about exploring what you can do. It's about exploring your non-limitations. I don't want to call them limitations, because, limitations they don't exist outside of us. Nobody limits us, really. We put the limitations for ourselves. And when we do that, we are probably sitting in our fixed mindset. Fixed mindset is all about limitations, and it's all about keeping us in a place where it's usually our comfort zone, because this is what we know. This is how we have lived all our life. And it's always, we usually get triggered, or we are scared, or we might be alarmed or afraid about stepping into the unknown, because it is unknown, and because our ego will always jump to the occasion and try to, stop us, because our ego's job is to always keep us safe. And our ego will always tell us, if we are stepping into the unknown, hey, where are you going? Because, this is not a place that I'm familiar with. I prefer to stay in my comfort zone. And this is exactly what a fixed mindset is. Staying in your comfort zone, because that's all that you know, because that's all that you think about yourself. Now, when you want to go from being in the fixed mindset to becoming in the growth mindset, and it's obviously a growth mindset, so you're going to be growing. When you cross that threshold, the minute you cross that threshold, you are basically reframing everything about how you approach things in your life. So let's say if I have if in my mind, okay, I'll give you the easiest example. So I'm a biker, right? And if I am to be approaching biking from a fixed mindset, there is no way on earth I would ever get on a bike and ride. The fact that when I chose to become a biker, I embraced that thought, and I reframed my approach to the whole process, because it always used to be, I used to love biking since I was a kid, but it was always something that was scary to me, because I have seen a lot of things happen when people are on bikes. So it was always scary, but at the same time, I loved it. So instead of keeping my mind in the fixed space and coming and approaching the biking from a fixed mindset, which obviously was telling me, hey, you cannot do this, and these are the limiting beliefs. And mind you, a fixed mindset is all about limiting beliefs. It's all about being scared. It's all about being limited. It's all about not knowing, worry about being worried of the unknown. So these are the basis of a fixed mindset. And it's all about what we have learned since we were kids until the day we decide to take things in our own hands, we're gonna grab it and go. So when I decided that I'm gonna give biking a chance, I literally reframed the whole process of biking, and I made it something more appealing to me so that I can move from the fixed mindset that I had about this to the growth mindset that, I can do this. And I gave myself a motivation to become the biker that I am today, just because I reframed the whole process. Instead of it being scary, or instead of it being difficult, the way I was looking at it was like, yeah, but it's cool. It's nice. I mean, a woman on a nice bike, I would look nice. It would look sexy. It would look, whoa, like strong. So I reframed the whole process. And the minute I did that, it was so easy for me to actually learn how to bike. And it was like me drinking a sip of water later on. It became that easy just by me reframing the whole process. And this is how I shifted from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So that's the growth mindset. The person who has a growth mindset will never think will never say, I cannot do this, right? That's a person with a fixed mindset. A person with a fixed mindset will always manage to say, I cannot do this, or I'm not able to do this, or I have no expertise to do this. Where there's always a reason to stop them from evolving, or from venturing into the unknown, or venturing into not even the unknown. Sometimes it's very known, but they just don't want to do it because they are so fixated on the idea that this is what they know. It is what it is, So a person with a growth mindset will never say, I cannot do this. If they're going to say, I cannot do this, they're going to be saying, I cannot do this yet. That yet means that there is always in their mind, there's always room for improvement. There's always room to become better, to learn, to understand more, to figure things out. And that's exactly how a growth mindset works. I mentioned in my post, I spoke about the famous saying by Winston Churchill. I'm going to read it because I don't have it from the top of my mind. So Winston Churchill said, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Now, what does that mean? And this is what I want to talk about basically when we talk about mindset. And one of the major things that keep us stuck in our fixed mindset is that fear of failing. And we always, that fear is at the basis of so many things, not just us being stuck in our fixed mindset, but because today this is what we're talking about, I'm focusing on that. But fear is a major limitation that we all have. Don't get me wrong, I used to have it, and maybe I still have fear in some very specific areas of my life, but I worked hard on getting out of so many different fears that I had. And fear is a limitation that we have at the basis of so many things. Now, what Winston Churchill was saying is that when we fail, that doesn't mean that it's over. That doesn't mean that, I'm going to go and sit in my cocoon and close myself up to the world and no one will ever see me ever again. No, what Winston Churchill meant is that failure is actually your catalyst to become better. Failure is an opportunity for you to excel. It's an opportunity for you to take that, what you have failed to do, and learn from it and become better at it and develop those skills. So the saying is, success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts, which means having that oomph, I call it, when you have this zest to life, when you want to make sure that you are doing things right for you, even if you fail or if you stumbling is a normal thing. It will always happen. The only thing that never stumble, as Og Mandino says in his book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, the only thing that doesn't stumble is a worm, because she has no legs. So, and since we are not worms, we're going to stumble. There is no doubt about it that we're going to stumble and we're going to fall. And sometimes it's going to be hard. The most important thing is to know that we can stand back up and that we have that power. But if we are living in a fixed mindset, it will be very difficult for us to actually even believe this, that if we fall, we will stand back up and we will learn from our mistakes. It's funny, I have a tattoo that says, we live, we learn. And I when I did that tattoo, I never even thought that I would be doing this today, but it's so true. It's so true. Throughout our life, this is what happens. Our life, like life, is the best school that there is out there. And it's also the best school system. Even though sometimes you might say, but Maysoon, we go through so much hardship in our life. We go through a lot of ups and downs, and sometimes we get depressed, and sometimes it's so hectic, and sometimes it's toxic, and sometimes we are so anxious and we're full of anxiety. How is that a good thing? I tell you how. Imagine you are living your life with zero feelings, zero ups and downs, zero, like if there was nothing happening in your life. Now, if you ask me, that would be very boring, right? That would be like really, really very boring. Now, if you go through life with so many ups and downs and you just surrender, that is harmful. That is harmful to you. That is you kind of shooting yourself in the foot, because life is going to happen. Whether you allow it or not, life is going to happen. You are here. You are living. So life, I don't know why this is going in this direction, but these are the messages I'm getting. Like, this is what I'm getting to tell you. So life is going to happen. What we want to make sure is we want to make sure that we are living life, and we don't just let life pass by without us being part of it and being an integral part of it, not just being part of it to be a part of it, but be an integral part in our life instead of just letting it happen to us. Remember, people always say, why is this happening to me? Why do these things keep on happening to me? We always say this. But did you ever stop? Do you ever stop and ask yourself, maybe this is happening for me? Think about it. I remember I used to be that person. I used to always say, why does this keep happening to me? Why am I always falling in the same mistakes? Why am I doing the same mistakes over and over again? Why do things keep happening to me? And then I realized that nothing was actually happening to me. Everything that I went through in my life was teaching me something. Every single thing from when I was born until right this moment, everything that happens through our life for us, it happens for us because it's teaching us. We are in this school to learn, and the people who learn the most are the people who allow it to happen. And those people are the people who have a growth mindset. Because if we have the fixed mindset, we will never allow the learning to take place. It will always be somewhere out there, but we will never allow it in our life. For us to thrive and become the best version of who we are, because like I always said, and I think those of you who've been watching me for a while now will know that every one of us is a good person. And sometimes life and the way we live with it, or the way we invest in our life, makes us that person who is either sitting in a place where they want to grow, where they want to make something out of their life, where they want to fix things for themselves, where they are learning from this process that they are going through in their life. Or we are that person who is going to be sitting in the corner and always blaming life and the events out there that are happening, as if we have zero control on the events that happen in our life, while we have all the control, not zero control. But anyway, this is out of the growth mindset, but it's just to show you that everything is kind of interrelated when we are going through life. We cannot put something aside and just, park it. Let's park our growth mindset now, or our fixed mindset, and I will go through my life in a different way. That's not how it works, right? It's always everything. It's like the human body. Like in your body, everything is interconnected. There's nothing that's not connected to something else. Everything is interconnected. And this is the beauty of this temple that we are living in. The beauty of it is that everything is connected and everything works in such a harmony that, when something wrong happens, the whole body is, like on guard, and the whole body wants to fix this. And this is how we go through life. When we are faced with matters that come to us in our life, they don't come to us out of nowhere. We bring them because we are planning for something. Whether we know it consciously or not, that's another story. And this is why it's important that you, or anyone out there, are aware of how much control you have, and what are the things that you want in your life, so that you are bringing, what are you trying to learn, that you are bringing those situations to you. Now, going back to growth mindset, that was like a very long parenthesis, but going back to the growth mindset, and there are several mistakes that people make when they talk about growth mindset. They think that, you either have it or you don't, right? A lot of people think that a growth mindset is something that we are either born with or we're not born with it. It's not a disappointment, obviously. Let me enlighten you and let me make you feel so good about yourself, because this is not true. Everybody can develop a growth mindset. If you are watching this here, I can assure you that you already have a growth mindset, even those who will watch the replay. Anyone who's going to be interested in watching this is already in their growth mindset. And that means that they already know that they can change, that they want to change, that they know that change is something that is doable for them. that there is no limitation for them to cross that threshold and become that person who is learning about who they are, who knows who they are, who is, you know, willing to dive into fixing things for themselves if this is where they are in their life. So that obviously is a very big mistake, thinking that this is what we are born with. Either we are born with it or we are not. So if we are not born with it, that means that we can never have it. That's not true. That's not true. I used to have a fixed mindset. I told you before. I used to have a fixed mindset because my father, this is how he brought us up, always telling us that this is it. When you are born this way and there's nothing that will change you. And today, if I ask my father if he still believes that, I think he will say yes, because he did not change anything about him, and he lived his life so convinced about this saying that I am pretty sure that even if I ask him today if he thinks he can change, he will say no. No, my character will always prevail. No matter how much I do or whatever I do, my character will always come back and prevail. But thank God I did not follow his saying. Thank God I went in the direction that I defied the saying that, you know, I was either born with it or without it. I was maybe born without it, but I developed it, you know. But I don't think I don't think anyone is ever born without something. I think we are all born with everything. But then when we go through life, we start forgetting that we are this person and this person, and we can do this and we can do that. And we start limiting ourselves because this is how our life is limiting us, because of the surrounding and the environment and the circumstances that we are living in, and how our parents are raising us, where we were born, what sort of family entourage do we have, what sort of family dynamics do we have. Everything plays a role in molding our life in a way where we forget that we actually have so much within us to do a lot more than what we are doing today. And that's the first mistake. Remember, you are not born with it or without it. It's always there. Both of them, the fixed and the growth, both of them are there. Excuse me. So always remember that. Now, the second mistake that people do is that people think that a growth mindset is about being positive. I mean, being positive is a very, very important thing. Yeah, that's so true. But it's not enough. It's not enough if we are always positive and then that's it. Positivity on its own doesn't make much of a difference. What is important is that we take action, is that we put the wheels to movement. Because if I keep on saying, I am good, I'm healthy, I'm wealthy, all the affirmations in the world, and I use affirmations all the time, don't get me wrong, because they are amazing, but they are coupled with my growth mindset. They are coupled with my belief. It's interesting because, when I wore this morning, it didn't even cross my mind that this is how it will look, because it says believe and achieve, but you can only see believe, but it speaks to the very specific moment. It makes a lot of sense. So being positive alone is not enough. When you are positive and you are working towards something and you are accomplishing and you are putting things in action and you are moving things with all the positivity that you have, then it becomes a growth mindset. But being positive alone is not having a growth mindset. I am afraid I'm going to have to disappoint you if this is what you were thinking. And the third thing about the mistake that people do about growth mindset, they think that growth mindset is all about, if you are doing something and you are getting acknowledged for it, or you are getting praised for it, that you are in the growth mindset. A growth mindset is not really about being praised, or is not really about being validated by others. It's not about really having the validation. A growth mindset really is about the process and the approach that you take about things. It's not about the result, and it's not about whether you are successful in it or not. It's about how you approach it. It's about how you do things. So even if you fail at the end of the day, that doesn't mean that you don't have a growth mindset. So if I approach something with the mindset that I can make a difference, or I can change it, or if I learn, I will become better, if I learn, I might get there, this is a growth mindset. And it doesn't matter if I am praised at the end of the way, or at the end of the road. If there's someone waiting for me there with a medal, let's how do I compare it? Like, let's say I'm in a race, right? And instead of me running the race, I will just, hop on, which is so weird, but that's the idea that came to me. I would hop on, and hold a pickup truck, I would hop on the back without anyone seeing me, and I'll go all the way, and I'll just jump out at the very end and run the last minute to get to the finish line, and then everyone will applaud me. But my approach was not really a growth mindset approach. In fact, it was a fixed mindset, because in my mindset I was thinking, there's no way I can run this much, or there's no way I can finish this marathon, or there's no way I can get to the finish line, because my mindset is fixed. So I find a different way to get there, just to be praised, or to be recognized, or to be acknowledged at the end. While my approach was so wrong, it was certainly not using a growth mindset. Does it make sense? Let me know in the comments if it makes sense or not. So that's the third mistake that people do. So the first one is thinking that we are either born with it or without it. Or the second mistake is that we think that if we have a positive mindset, that means that we have a growth mindset, or if we always think positively, that means we have a growth mindset. It's important, don't get me wrong, remember, it's important, it's very important actually, to think positively, but the thinking alone is not enough. We want to remember that we want to also act. We want to also move from just thinking to doing, to acting, to putting the wheel in action and just let it roll. And then the third mistake is thinking that, it's all about the praise, it's all about the recognition, and it's all about the success, while the most important thing really is about the approach itself and the process itself, and figuring it out, and knowing that this is a process, and we want to learn it, and we want to embrace it and live with it and go through it. The beauty of the growth mindset is that, to go back to Winston Churchill's saying, that if you make a mistake, the way you want to see a mistake, and that's how you develop. This is my second point of, or second part of the live today, or of the coaching today, is how you can develop your growth mindset. There is a very simple way to think about it. And I totally understand that sometimes when we are in a place in our life that sometimes we think that there's so much that we can do, right? And we reach a point where we might find ourselves stuck, and we think that that's it, this is the best that I can do, and I'm gonna sit there and that's it, enough is enough, I'm not gonna do anything anymore because I'm failing and I'm failing and I'm failing. And people, and don't get me wrong, I used to be that person, you know, I used to be that person. I used to be that person who would surrender because it happened so many times. And that's why I do what I do today, because I used to keep on repeating myself. I used to keep on repeating my mistakes. And this is why I'm doing this today. And I forgot to tell you at the beginning of the live that I have an invitation for you at the very end. And I know it's a bit late, but stick to it, stick to the live, and I'll tell you what the invitation is. So thinking that failure is your showstopper, this is the biggest mistake that anyone can do. So I already shared with you 3 mistakes about the growth mindset, but the biggest mistake that anyone can do in their life is thinking that failure is the end of the road. So when we fail, that's it. That's not it. That's merely the beginning, my friends. That's merely the beginning, because mistakes are our way to learn. When we fall, like if we don't fall, we will never understand what it means to stand back up. It's that simple, right? If we put it in plain English, simple English terms. If I fall, how will I know how it feels to stand back up? I won't. So I'm going to have to stumble. I'm going to have to fall. And it's a normal thing to fall, because that's the best way to stand back up and move forward. Now, the very important thing is, first of all, the way to develop our growth mindset is not to let those setbacks stop us or keep us from moving forward or keep us from doing things better or working on ourselves more. You know, remember, everything that happens for us. If you remember this all the time, if you think of your life this way, you will always find a reason for things to happen in your life, and you will always understand what it is that you are learning from all this. Because when things happen for us, remember, they happen for us, it means that there's something for us to take away, that there's something for us to learn, that there's something for us to grasp and, you know, move forward in our life by taking this learning with us and making this learning something that will help us in the next phase of our life. So it's very important to develop your growth mindset, is to make sure not to let those setbacks stop you from getting better or stop you from moving forward. You know, those setbacks are there to teach you. Always remember that, and always ask, what is it that I am learning? What is this setback trying to teach me? Or what am I trying to teach myself? Because remember, the setback doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's a situation that you put yourself in. So when you put yourself in this situation and you face this situation, always remember to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Why is this situation happening? Why am I making this situation happen for me in my life? What is it that I'm learning? So remember to ask yourself these questions. So that's how you grow your mindset. This is step number 1. Number 2 is being self-aware, and being not just self-aware, being having self-advocacy. So basically speaking up and not hiding, not being afraid, you know, not being afraid, being courageous and being brave to face the things that you go through. And to, you know, this is, let's say I'm walking, okay, this is my street and I have a wall. I can either stop or I can keep on hitting the wall, because this is, a lot of people do that. So they hit the wall and hit the wall and think that they're going to have a breakthrough, but it's never going to happen. Or they can find a solution. So we can either find a solution to bring a ladder, we go up the ladder and go, or we can just move around and like cross the wall from a different side. And this is what I mean by the most important thing is about the approach rather than the praise or the result or the end result. The approach is, what am I going to do when I'm being faced with something? Am I going to get stuck? Am I going to just defy it, but in the wrong way? Or am I going to be smart and use my growth mindset and find the approach that will help me get to the place where I want to get, but with enough strength and with all the, the zest that I have for my life, right? So that's the second thing is to always take, like, speak up and just ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help. And believe me, I've done it. I'm telling you this because I know I have done it. I've done it the hard way. First of all, I was that person who would go like, and it's gonna go. And I would defy it, but always in the wrong way. But it never, it never went until I took control of things and until I spoke up and I asked for help. And I worked so hard on myself to become where I am today because I gave myself that chance. I removed those blinders, and I started looking around and I started seeing, oh my God, there are so many opportunities out there. There is so much potential within me to do so much in my life, that being stuck with how my father raised me, that the character will always prevail. And the English way of saying it is actually old habits die hard. And people never change. People change. All they need to do is decide. The minute we decide that we want to change, we will change. It's inevitable, people. If we make that decision, it's going to happen. The trick is not whether we can change or not. The trick is whether we want to change or not. The trick is whether we believe that we want to change or not. Not that we believe, if we believe that we can change or not. Like, remember, the growth mindset is, I cannot do it yet. The fixed mindset will always say, I cannot do it. If we have a fixed mindset, we're going to always say, no, I cannot change. Like my dad, change never happens. And Jack Welch, if you know, Jack Welch used to be the chairman of GE, General Electric, the company. He used to say, and I know this because I used to work for General Electric, and he used to say the only constant in GE is change. And it's actually so true everywhere in the world. The only constant that there is out there is change. Can you imagine if change did not exist? We would still be living the same way our great ancestors were living. We would still be now sitting in, in the caves and hunting, and you would certainly not see me on a Zoom call or on a live Facebook, right? So change is definitely out there. And if change exists outside of us, where do you think it's coming from? It's coming from within us. It's coming from this growth mindset that a lot of us have. I believe we all have a growth mindset. It's just the fact of whether we have tapped into it yet or not. The third thing that I want to tell you about as to how you develop your growth mindset is, again, talking about failure, is taking that failure as a way for you to learn. Is instead of thinking about of failure as failure and a way for you to stop and a way for you to sulk and a way for you to always blame everything around you in the world, that, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to me? Having a growth mindset, to have a growth mindset, you need to remember that failure is an opportunity for you to learn. And that is how you develop a growth mindset. If you think about failure as an opportunity for you to learn, you're definitely on the right track to developing and evolving that growth mindset of yours, because it's already there. All it needs is a little bit of nurturing. So remember, it's not about whether we have it or not, because we do have it, right? It's not about like we're not born with it and there's no way we can get it. No, it's there. And I say we are born with everything. We just tend to forget that we are born with these things. Like for me, we are all born. Can you remember when we were kids? Like our imagination was wild, right? I don't think anyone can ever tell a kid that if they are playing with, I don't know, pens and considering them as swords, you cannot tell them that this is not a sword, because in their mind, their imagination is so big that in their imagination, it's true. This is a sword. It's not a pen. And the unfortunate thing is when we grow older, this is a pen, right? Our imagination becomes smaller. It kind of shrinks. So does everything else that we are born with. And that's why I say that we are born with a growth mindset. We just forgot. And now my job is to remind you that you have it. It is yours. It is yours. It's there. All you need to do is to remember. All you need to do is to look at it in the right way and remove those blinders that we have. If you are that person, who believes that there's nothing in the world that can change you, or that, no, I mean, old habits die hard, and I will never be able to change anything about myself. Remember, that's probably your ego talking, because your ego's job is to always protect you, is to always keep you safe. And the way your ego knows how to keep you safe is by keeping you in your comfort zone. That's what you know. Your ego will always keep you there. It will never take you to a different place, a place where there is like a question mark, or a place where there might be excitement and there might be also failure. It's unknown. For me, whatever is unknown is exciting, actually. Now I look at it this way. Before, I used to be afraid. Yes, I used to be scared. But now everything that is unknown for me is like, I wonder, what am I going to learn? I wonder what there is out there for me yet to learn, yet to understand, yet to grasp, yet to live and to enjoy. And that is another way of allowing your mindset to grow, is how you use your thoughts, how you use your words with yourself and with everyone around you. Now, the thing is about mindsets and about everything that I teach, I can talk about this for ages. If you give me the live for 10 hours, I will stay for 10 hours and I will not have enough to say. I will always have more. So I know we've got 5 more minutes. So with that, today I'm gonna have to stop here, because this topic is really big. And if you want, let me know. I can have what do you call it, an encore. Maybe not next week, but maybe the week after. I might also have another coach join me like I did last week. Maybe this time it's going to be someone else, and we also going to talk about the mind and how this time we're going to also talk about how the brain physically works. It's quite interesting when you understand the dynamics behind it. And you see that it's not only about, what we learn, it's also sometimes it's a physiological thing that we can change about ourselves. And the minute we change that, also we can support ourselves getting out from our limitations and becoming that person who can thrive and can excel in their life. And I truly believe that we all are champions, and this is why I've developed a whole course about this. I've developed a whole course to help everybody who feels that they are like this much stuck, because I try to support people who are procrastinating and stuck, and they keep on repeating things, their mistakes over and over again, and always getting the same results. Remember, Albert Einstein, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results. If we keep on doing the same things, the results are going to be the same. Now, if you are expecting something else, you're going to have to change what you do so that you have a different result. And that's where I come in. That's where I come in to help. If this is who you are, if you are stuck, if you are in a place where you're stagnating, where you feel like there's nothing much to life, and, there's no way that you can learn anything new, or there's no way that you can get out of your situation, let me know in the comments below. And I can assure you that this is not a place for anyone to be in. I used to be there. I wouldn't want it for anyone. And that's why I'm doing this today. That's why I want to help everyone around me to become the best version of who they already are. And I truly believe that. So all you need to do is let me know. I will share with you a link below. There's you can get on a call with me, or you can send me a message on Messenger and we can start a conversation. I can see where you are at your life, in your life right now. We'll talk and I'll understand your situation. And I'll give you some tips about things that you can do right here, right now, to start getting out of your situation. And then we can get on a call, and on the call, I will dig deeper and understand more. You'll tell me the things that you want to share, and you will tell me where you want to go, where you want to be. And together, we can put a plan and see if this is the right thing for you. If I'm the right person to help you, I will let you know, and I'll tell you how it looks like to work with me. So all you need to do is to book that call. I will share the link under this video today, and tomorrow in the replay, I can also share that link. And I'll also share a link for you to message me on Messenger, because a lot of times, when I message people on Messenger, they go to a different folder and to the message requests. And a lot of people miss opening the message requests. So I keep on messaging people, but they don't message back because my messages or their messages are stuck in the message requests. So I will share with you those two links. Feel free to reach out to me, whether over a call or on Messenger, and I'll be very happy to answer any of your questions and to see where you are and to share some insights with you and even give you some tips so that you can start your journey right here, right now. Remember, just tag on the link, either send me a message. So if you want to send me a message, you can say Mindshift in the message. Or if you want to get on a call, you can just book the call and we will get together on the call and we will discuss everything. And with this, I will leave you until next week. If you have anything that you want me to talk about next week or any week after, also let me know in the comments and I'll be more than happy to talk about that. And with that, I'll see you next week and I'll say ciao, ciao.